to Elvis. We were not an Elvis house. We were Bobby Darin and early Beatles, and even at 11, I knew for sure none of their narrow ties were for me. Still, we were all music. Grampy's operas and Mom's orchestras, Dad's tenors and my fourth grade glee club, and the same unexpected respect I had when Johnny Bench lifted his bat at Shea applied somehow to the king in all his worshipable forms, with the same faintly foreign feel, wondrous and far away. I was crocheted vests and matchbox cars, the trading of Tom Seaver, and the truth of the first Star Wars. Elvis was a language I didn't speak, might never understand, though by then I'd started my notebooks on how to reach people. My stories wanted to be songs people screamed for, and Lord, I knew Elvis could make people scream. In '77, Don't Be Cruel wasn't part of our September recital, but the music school parents were speaking Elvis. In '80, they still spoke his name. After years of studying the Elvis lexicon, I break into Teddy Bear at bedtime, return to Sender while purchasing stamps. Like Milton Berle in Barcelona, speaking just enough to find my way out of that romantic country, the place I loved but do not live. A visitor returning, hipless and unhip, just to wander its streets.
So this is cadence. There is a point when you give up and let the sand stay in your hair, under your nails, clinging to your salt-sprayed skin. There is even a joy in the miles of sand beside sea and having some of that vastness belonging to you, if only for a while. It is so often that we try to control forces larger than we could ever be, wanting rain, wanting snow, gambling with nature. We secretly envy the persistence shown in a weed that curls up, yellow-green and determined, creating a crack in the asphalt. We realize that the molding, the pushing from those around us, is something we can withstand, just as willows dip in the wind but return to their balance. And there is a lesson in the way a raindrop beads up on the wood grain of a deck, keeping itself together, resisting the urge to conform. There is a bold beauty in the shifting colors of an autumn leaf, simply changing as everything must, but not being afraid to do so. And in the forward rushing of a mossy rock stream, there is a comfort in the rhythm, much like the cadence of the rolling ocean waves. So I give up brushing the sand from my shoulders, finding I like the reminder that something so small, so rough, can become a pane of smooth glass.
So this first poem is titled 4 Months of Science Fiction. Sorry. I don't remember ever deciding that I wanted to be a writer. It just sort of happened in the same way that I don't remember turning 16. In the same way that when I was younger, I used to lie out in the snow on the back porch and watch it slowly hit the ground so I could feel like I was falling. When really, I had never been a height high enough to jump from. When really, it was 9 years later and I was still trying to see how long I'd keep my eyes shut, while the snow started to one by one weigh me down, burying my limbs and washing out the porch light, leaving me lying perfectly still with my eyes closed, going blind. It was a habit that I think semi-permanently numbed my skin, tied invisible strings around each and every crease, so that when I reached for something more, my fingers, stiff and purple, had no real way of closing in, could not make any solid fist, no real evidence that I had the strength to be anything but indefinite. I was 16 and I was a writer, and those two things became as inevitable as the itching burn of frostbite on my thighs after I finally went inside, with nothing else to do but learn to walk with a heart that felt like the water in my shoes. My second poem is titled Vacation Towns, and I wrote it, obviously, you'll hear after the hurricane and the destruction of the shore. I've lived my whole life on a mountain. When I drive home, I speed willingly into dark masses. I work my way up and down intertwining hills. The time accounts only for a third of the distance. The roads are narrow. The nearer to home, the smaller the spaces. In every season, the trees feel desperate. At night, in large crowds, they start to threaten, closing in on my solitary pair of headlights, 50 miles per hour down the one-lane highway, I can't go fast enough. The car can't go fast enough. The time accounts only for a third of the distance. I am always miles behind where I should be. I've lived my whole life on a mountain, but I grew up by the sea. I spent every last week of June of the first 15 years of my life turning another age in a place where I could always smell the breeze. When the hurricane hit the coastline of my home state, I didn't have power for a week. So it wasn't until after when I heard about the firefighters who pulled bodies out of water one after another in the 8 feet flooded streets. It wasn't until I saw homes with half of their foundations and heard stories of the people who died there refusing to leave. It wasn't until after that I felt betrayed and that I felt guilty, that I felt like the literal height of my home was taunting me. I had dreams of myself standing on the sand in an overcast early morning, thick fog keeping me from seeing past the waves that wanted to be seen, a soft cold beneath my feet, my entire body trembling and screaming, and unable to realize that the entire time I had been crying, my accusations forced out of my lungs, unintelligible, none of them strong enough to withstand the atmosphere. I've lived my whole life on a mountain. No curves, no sidewalks, the road lines faded, uneven pavement, a sound of gravel constantly underneath. I drive in circles around the reservoir while the sun sets over shadows, reflected in yellow-orange streaks, a postcard picture I have always seen. I am indifferent, I am afraid, I am guilty. It wasn't until after, when we sat together at our table in the morning, where I stirred our condolences, cup of black coffee, feeling pruned and defeated, when she said to me half quietly, "You know, the death toll is only so low because missing people still need to wash up on the beach."
This is called My Father's Hands. My father's hands cupped the water gracefully, bringing it to his face. "Like this," he said, demonstrating for me again. My eyes fixed on his large hands, scarred fingers overlapping in prayer, the water holding still in communion. Those hands cut meat by day, trimmed legs of lamb and sides of beef with the finesse of a seamstress, the bones like needles cutting his fingers. And when he stole away from the weight of work to where the horses helped him forget, his large hands held fast to his track sheet, handicapping each race with a butcher's precision, his pencil the knife with which he cut us out of his life. Thank you.
Am I depressed or is it the weather? It's too hot to read, too hot to think, too hot to be. A thunderstorm has come and gone. The pounding 30-second rain barely dampened the grass. In all of Totowa, there are 3 lightning bugs. One on Dewey Ave, one on Grant, and one is wandering towards Union Boulevard. Listen, a breeze whips through the garden, promising cooler air. If it doesn't keep its promise, what then? Seeing is believing. During the children's sermon, a favorite of Father Mark's, he explained why little ones love to play peekaboo, knowing the beloved face will reappear. Disappearing into the hall, he called out, "Can you see me now?" And they chorused, "No, but you know I'm here." Hesitation, seconds of silence. "You do know I'm here," he repeated. And they chorused, "Yes." "Can you see God?" Father Mark asked. And the children nodded. "No." "But you still know he's there?" They nodded, yes. On my way home, I saw the dark scarlet of oaks, the burgundy of Japanese maples, felt the cool breeze of this November, blessed by no sign of heavy frost, caught a glimpse of sapphire blue between rolling gray clouds of late morning, felt glad to be alive on such a day. And I saw God. I saw him everywhere.
Winter afternoon. This time of the year, children learn how to walk on water. They etch their secrets onto heaven's mirror, cheeks brushing softly against the crimson of frost. They glide so fast, even the wind cannot touch them, while the sun spills her divine shimmer on the frozen lake. When she sets behind the mountain, the world becomes invisible. Skate turn towards the shore, slicing the colorless ice, shadows disappearing into the light of warm homes.
Circumstances. My hands were covered in blood, but I was a butcher. The little girl was crying, but snow had smothered the entire world. Grasshoppers were staring through all the windows, but I was making salad. Nobody had said my name for 10 years, but that wasn't my name. I was a tough customer, but my father stood beneath a green awning, selling watches and coin purses. The hour was late, but wheels against wheels pushed the hands.
And jail. Holy Father, loving Jesus, third angel, my best friend, you bestow upon us all blessings before we're conceived and passed through the hand. You place the sun into the heavens to warm the earth and give it light. You shelter us from more than we could ever know in darkest night. You know my name and count the very hairs upon my head. You know my ways and have a plan for my life from beginning to its end. You give to me eternal love that rests within your heart. You give me a choice to stay with you right from the start. You promise to wipe the tears that fall like rain from my two eyes. Take away the pain and suffering, for in your name salvation lies. Because of your great love for us, you sent your only Son to wash away our sins. You promise life in heaven because we come to you through him.
Light filters through the windows, majestic in its rays, playing with colors as I gaze up in this place of worship, pilgrimage, and peace. I walk quietly, reverently, past chapels where centuries of prayers were made, until I'm captured by a gate. Beyond it, steps leading up to a door, and an arch adorned with brilliant plays of light and shade. I wonder where this goes. The gate is locked. I cannot pass into its beckoning glow, but only look, alas, with curious eyes from my position here below.
I want to thank you all for coming. Don't forget to turn your clocks ahead tomorrow. And we will see you all next year. Thank you.